Hey, Curious here, and I probably just have to put this out as a preventative measure, preemptive statement, because I was in a stickum room and I feel like Very Blast was trying to draw me out to say I was a racist. Or maybe he was just trying to understand me, to see why I had an objection to saying the N-word. And then he would go on to say, well, I don't view it from that way. I don't have those feelings. Well, good for him. But we tried to talk about that, and it was like, well, even though you might think you don't have those feelings, and sometimes they do come out, you don't say human is human. You say something else, N-word is human, and then that actually is not destigmatizing things, it's more stigmatizing things. It's like trying to put out friggin' fire with gasoline. And he thinks you just keep dousing enough and you'll put the fire out. Well, I don't know, maybe you can create an explosion that will put out a fire, but you're not going to do it with something as small, as insignificant as just pouring and pouring and pouring gasoline. That's just the way I can put the analogy. So, about me, we got talking about my past and how I had issues with street life and gang life, which I don't talk about much because I still live on the same street and you never know. You know, and that's one reason I don't talk about it too much. Because I did a video about someone getting shot in my street one time. And someone I knew just spotted exactly where I lived. Just from a statement, and I gave no clues to where I am or what I say. I mean, where I am or when it happened. It's just boom, they found out. You can do that nowadays. It's real easy. I'm sure it's not too hard to figure out where I'm from. I am from California. In any case, the point is that I have expressed social deregulation in the past, and I tried to explain very simply that on social issues, I am small government conservative. I'm like a libertarian when it comes to small government. And that's on social issues. In other words, except for drugs, which I think are like more of a health issue and therefore a economic issue because of health care, which I am progressive on. I pretty much support body autonomy, even when I don't personally agree with it. Like name autonomy, identity, or identity autonomy, like niggetarianism. You know, I tried to explain that even though I think ideally that people should be free with body autonomy to have not only what they do with their body, but the freedom to express their individuality, just like slut walk or something. You know, just like you're free to express yourself with your dress, so should you be free to express yourself with your other forms of identity. But I had to say, ultimately, I was against it, not only because of my past, which is stigmatized to me personally, but that it's too stigmatized, for the example I just gave before. And now let me be very clear on where I come from. I believe in small government, so that would say that I don't support a lot of social regulation. And a lot of that regulation by government, positive rights, is civil liberties and other advocacy groups. I believe many of those groups and many of the problems that they work with can be handled by economic reforms. Simply because if you take away many economic problems by fixing the economy, not just the economy, but the infrastructure, renewable energy, clean houses, lots of police, lots of prisons, but lots of people for public services, not just a welfare state, but you gotta imagine the split politics here. I'm not talking about warehousing people. I'm talking about, well, maybe with some people would disagree with me that people shouldn't be allowed to be in luxury mansion-like prisons where reform is possible, and the only punishment they're getting is being separated from society and not paying their dues. I happen to disagree there because I feel that, and just an example on the case of prison overpopulation, which has come up in a lot of things David said, is that it's not really a race issue, it's an economic issue. And it's an economic issue because it has been the thing of class stratification. And now some of that is race. You can't deny it. But if everybody had the personal autonomy to be financially secure, or at least a living wage, or something close to it, then a lot of those problems with circle of poverty would disappear. And hence, minorities stuck in a capitalist society would also not be delegated to the lowest parts of the social economic rung of the ladder. So there would be opportunities. And who says there can't be opportunities? Because the whole thing is, the breaking the circle of poverty is you get to a better neighborhood, you work hard, you get to a better neighborhood, you send your kids to school, you parent them in a way with values that teach them proper education, and they go to college and they get further ahead in the system. And not everybody can always be ahead in the system, but at least then the economics and economic classes become dynamic and wealth rotates. That's why I'm also against globalization and some forms of internationalism, because I don't want to see charity go outside borders. Not because I view anybody as less than anything, because simply I think that we're being 10 times let's say I'm from America, we're being 10 times the drain on the world that we would be if we simply cleaned up our own house. And then that would allow us, with the proper reforms, like renewable energy, something from oil, bio-waste, localized electrical, and a way to stop pollution that would calm the ozone, would calm the problems with global warming and dramatic climate change, and therefore there would not need to be aid to other places. Although other places would use the oil that we're not using to industrialize and improve their quality of life for their citizens. So that is also something to consider in an argument to be economically progressive, is how are we going to start telling other people that are not in industrialized countries you don't have a right to have a higher quality of life? Because sooner or later, everybody will be on the boat. And I don't know the answer to that. Right? Wrong? It seems kind of hopeless, to be honest. It's a big gloom, boom, doom. And I'm not an antinatalist, and I'm not just referencing that, but how do we friggin' have the nots from the have-nots? Or the wants? Anyway. Basically, how do you have a standard of living without denying it to somebody else? And these are things I think of. And no, I am not a supremacist because, first and foremost, before anything, I'm a naturalist. And that means I believe in science. And that means that the pseudoscience of most of what racism is based upon is wrong. Now, has social Marxism crept into our civil liberties? That's debatable. Personally, I think you need a little positive rights, or the government interceding on your behalf. But personally, with the right reforms of economic progressiveness, without it turning into a money pit, as some big government always seems to do, I think these things could be helpful. But it just, it's grown so big, so many issues I've tried to talk about. I would have to write this stupid mantra down on a piece of paper and recite it. And when you start reciting mantras, or manifestos, I don't know, manifestos I mean, excuse me, then, maybe you're not looking at things clearly. Maybe things are just what they are. Maybe riots are just riots. Maybe slur words are just slur words and people shouldn't say N-words. And maybe you have to give a little ground on personal autonomy to have social cohesion. Maybe. So, I don't know. I'm not a college graduate, so there's all different kinds of people with all different kinds of views and all different kinds of education in these things. And personally, I feel that even if I'm not the smartest person, I still believe in my right to speak and have thoughts. So, well, I am advocate of free speech, definitely. So anyway, that's where that is there. And I just had to go ahead and put this out in case anything happened, because I want to be real clear about social deregulation. Very simply, I'm small government conservative and big government progressive, with reservations on both, because I'm a naturalist. And sometimes that doesn't always mean humanist because of my small government views. Can't be more honest than that, okay? Alright. There's your answer.